Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be presenting my final project to you all. And so first I'm going to start off with explaining some of the curriculum unit and the historical context that I placed this project in. And then I'll explain the project itself. And in the unit that led up to the project that I created, I decided to incorporate Edpuzzle as my technology. So I will be going off and demonstrating that for you guys as well later on in the video. So the unit that I decided to focus on for my project was the Cold War, which spans from 1945 to really the late 80s, early 90s, with a majority of the events that are discussed are like the 50s, 60s, and early 70s. And then we kind of forget that it's the Cold War that we're talking about, and we just continue talking about history from there to like more present day events that are occurring. So, because there's so much to talk about within the Cold War, it's really split into two main units, and then the third part of it is contemporary America. So the first unit covers the Vietnam War, the Korean War, Cuban Missile Crisis, the Red Scare. So it covers a lot of politics and warfare, whereas the second unit focuses more on society and also a little bit of the economy as well, focusing on how Americans were reacting to nuclear warfare and the Red Scare, and also putting all of their thoughts into action through the social movements that were happening, mainly that begun in the 1960s and around there. So this unit also comes towards the end of the school year, and there's more and more contemporary history that we really try to mention as much as we can towards the end of the school year, but at the same time, students are beginning to prepare for their Regents exam. So here is the Cold War unit that starts probably late March, according to this pacing calendar. And then you have spring break. So this is the Cold War unit of the wars and the politics. And then you have the domestic change, which is what is the social movements of the time and beginning to move into the last unit of US history, which is contemporary America. So the project that I created, I wanted to find a way to combine a little bit of contemporary America as well as those social changes that were happening. So I based it off of a crash course video that I watched and created an Edpuzzle out of. And it was all about the 1960s and all of the social movements that were happening throughout the 1960s. So the goal of my project is that I wanted students to watch the videos from Edpuzzle and find a movement that they could relate to something that was happening in modern times, in the present day. When I watch the video back, I think of a new idea that happens all the time. Really quickly, John Green mentions a Latin American movement at one point, and immediately my students could talk about Trump and the wall, and so they could talk about politics, they could talk about economics, they could talk about society with this project. So I really wanted to give them the flexibility to kind of create their own idea. And I would have to vet the topic first before they continued with their assignment. But basically, they would do research on the assignment on, if they were going to do the civil rights movement and the Black Lives Matter movement. They would do research on those topics and write a paper. So at the same time, they're practicing their writing skills. They're showing how much they've learned throughout the whole unit. And it's a good way to provide an assessment without a test because they're going right into Regents review after this. And it gets really boring to just do test after test after test, especially if we're trying to get as much review in with them as possible. So I figured that this would be a good way to kind of end that domestic change unit and introduce the contemporary America unit because it would probably overlap material and content and dates as well. So now I'm going to demonstrate Edpuzzle to you. So this right here is Edpuzzle from the student view. I'll switch over into the teacher view in a little bit. So this is the page that students are greeted with once they enter their class code. So right on the side here, it has all the classes that I've enrolled myself in as a student, and I can join a class with the code that's provided to me. Typically this would be like a first day of school sort of thing that teachers will do. And so for my social studies class, this is the homepage that I'm greeted with. I have one assignment that's still due that I haven't done yet, and I have assignments over here that are to be graded, but that I've already completed. So the video here will start it, and I want to show you one really cool thing. So here, these green marks here are all the questions that I embedded into the video. And when I start playing the video, really quickly down here, if I try and skip forward before I get to a question, it's actually going to lock it. If you see the black lock and it won't let me skip forward or skip a question. And so I have to continue on until I answer the question. So I'm just going to let this question pop up. So it's a review. So I want my students to kind of figure out where the context is coming from. I want them to kind of look back in their brains and think about why the country was against the Vietnam War. This part of the video is talking about the anti-war protests that were happening. So I would submit a question or submit an answer, and then the video would continue playing. So now I'm going to transfer to the teacher view of Edpuzzle and show you what a completed video would look like from a teacher version. And here we are with the teacher view. So you'll see here, these are all the assignments that I've assigned to a class of students. Here I would have my students listed. It's just me right now. And if I didn't assign a due date to an assignment, it would be listed here. So right here I have one new answer of a submission that I haven't graded yet. So I'm going to go to that submission, and it gives you a report of everything that the student has done, and it shows you kind of a summary of all of the questions that the student has looked at and need to be reviewed. So open-ended questions have to be reviewed by a teacher. So I started grading this already. You can put a grade in if it's not 100% right. You can lower it a little bit if you want. And if a grade is totally wrong, what I would usually do is put in a comment and just talk about, why do we think that we got this question wrong, sort of thing. So we can, once the whole entire assessment is completely graded, it gives the grade up here, then students can see that, and you can embed those grades into any LMS that is compatible with Edpuzzle. So it's a really great piece of technology that I hope that will allow students to pay attention to a video and will help get the material that I want them to get out of the video, especially leading into an assignment such as the paper project that I created. I really want them to pay attention to those small details in order for them to find a movement that they would be interested and motivated to work on for an assignment. So that's my project, and I hope you all enjoyed, and I look forward to looking at everybody else's.